Hey guys, so I'm going to try to give you a real quick explanation of ratio tables to help you just maybe understand it a little bit better. So for our example tonight, recording this kind of late, we're going to talk about making cookies. So I thought that would be kind of a good way to kind of understand, because most of us have made cookies or helped make cookies at some point. So we're going to kind of use cookies as our basis for this example. And basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at a kind of the ratio of eggs to sugar when making cookies, because those are two ingredients that you would need for batches. And I apologize if my cat keeps interrupting. We'll see how often that happens. So kind of what I want to example for you guys, using kind of a vertical ratio table again. This could be a horizontal one too. It would look like this. It's just easier to use this dry erase board for vertically. So it's a good thing. I got my eggs. I got my sugar. So let's talk about it. So how does the ratio table work? Since a ratio compares two different things, we're basically comparing two things in an organized list in an organized table. All right, so the thing about a ratio table is all it is comparing kind of different groupings that you could do for these ratios. And what that means when we talk about it in the sense of cookies is, as we typically a recipe will give us the basic kind of batch, like this is how many ingredients you need to make one batch of cookies, typically about 12 cookies. So if we want to make more than that, like if I was making them for class, I'd have to make for all my classes, and I'd have to increase the recipe so I can make more cookies. That's kind of what a ratio table is going to look like. Typically we'll start with kind of our base ratio, and then we'll kind of show increasing or higher ratios as well. We don't necessarily just have to do times 2 every time. It could be any amount. But a big thing that we have to know is if they are going to tell us different pieces of the information for this recipe, it does not help us. I would pick the marker that's drying out. It does not have to be times 2 every time. It could be something more. But the big thing here is that if we only know the eggs, so, you need 2 eggs for the original ratio. Like, okay, cool. So I need 2 eggs for a batch. So sure, I can double that, and now I can have 4 eggs. But the problem with that is, do we know how much sugar we need? If they only give us the egg piece of the ratio, we have no comparison to figure out how much sugar we need. In this sense of the table, there's no way for us to figure out what the sugar is. And the same would be said if they only gave us the sugar side. So if on the sugar side, and if I make up kind of numbers right now, let's do here, okay. Sure, we can figure out what we did here. We can go, 3/4 of a cup times 2 makes 1.5 cups, and 1.5 times 6 gives us 9 cups. But can we figure out how many eggs we have? No. Okay, so what am I trying to get at here? When you're doing a ratio table, you need to have both pieces of information. Like, you can't figure it out from only having one piece of information. So let's say it looks like something like this. And then let's do like this. Okay, so making up these numbers as we go. Okay, I still can't solve this ratio table. Okay, and the reason I can't solve this ratio table is, yeah, sure, again, I have 2 eggs. Okay, and I could double that and go and grab 4 eggs, but is that guaranteed to go with 1.5? How do we know that? Okay, so what am I trying to say to you? You have to have both pieces, or you have to start at both pieces. So I'll give kind of an easy example here of if we actually filled this in. If we knew that for every 2 eggs, you need 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Okay, knowing both of those pieces now when we go, well, how did I go from 3/4 of a cup of sugar to 1.5 cups of sugar? Oh, that's times 2. Now, I don't expect you guys to know that right away, not with the fractions, but you could figure that out. Like, 3/4, that's 6/4. Hey, that's 1.5 cups, okay? Now, since you had to do times 2 here, since you doubled your sugar, if you actually want the cookies to turn out, what do you have to do? You have to double the eggs. So that's how we know, okay, well, So instead of having 2 eggs and 3/4 of a cup of sugar, I need 4 eggs and 1.5 cups of sugar. Okay, and then now we can get down to this last piece down here, and you could do that from either way. You could say, well, I could take my original recipe, 2 cups or two eggs and 3/4 of a cup of sugar, and I could multiply that by 6. I could make 6 batches of this. So 2 times 6 is 12, and then I would do 3/4 times 6 as well. Okay, and so 3/4 times 6 would end up being, it's late, I'm doing math in my head. 3/4 times 6 would be 18/4, which would be 4.5. Is that right? I didn't do this ahead of time. Sorry, guys. 3/4. We'll just write it down. I like it better that way. Times 6/1. That's 2. That's 3. Nope. No, it was half. I was right. It was 4.5. Okay. Sorry, guys. All right. So that's how I filled those empty gaps in. So I put in this number and I figured out this number as well. Okay. And the only reason I could do that is by identifying what to multiply by. The only way to identify what to multiply by is you have to start at whatever complete ratio they give you. All right. So let's do another kind of similar type of example. I'm going to just use the eggs and sugar because then I won't have to rewrite it on there. But let's say you're like thinking back and you ask your great grandma for her like secret family cookie recipe. And if you have relatives like mine, they're like, oh, well, I just did it from memory. I don't remember everything. I just did it. Okay. And if they told you that, oh, well, I used to make really big batches and I needed, let's say I would use 8 eggs and I would use 10 cups of sugar. I don't know how that would turn out, making these numbers up. Okay, as long as you have that complete ratio. And here's the thing, it does not matter where that complete ratio is. Let's put in numbers like these. Okay, so your ratio table could look like this. It doesn't always have to be the first one that's complete. So instead, you're just going to find your complete ratio. In this case, it would be 8-10 because we know both the eggs and the sugar. Okay, and then I kind of look here and go, okay, well, what can I do? All right, so hopefully you look at this and you go, oh, well, we could go from 8 to 4. Now, notice I said 8 to 4, not 4 to 8, because you have to start, you find your first puzzle piece. You find your complete ratio, 8 to 10. I know that if I do 8 divided by 2, that gives me 4. What you do to one, you do to the other. So 10 divided by 2 is 5, which now gives me a really nice piece because I couldn't go from 10 to 25, but hey, I can go from 5 to 25, and that would be times 5. So again, what I do to one, I do to the other. So 4 times 5 makes 20. Okay, so what do you need to do to solve ratio tables? You need to start at your complete ratio, wherever it is, and then you just connect pieces. Okay, well, I can go from 8 to 4, that's divided by 2. Or I can go from 5 to 25, that's times 5. And what you do to one, you do to the other. I hope this helped you make sense. I'm not actually making cookies. I just thought it'd be a good example. But I've got outdoor ed tomorrow, so I'm going to go to bed. Hope this helped. See you later, guys.